By the time Karen started parking her Lamborghini like it owned the neighborhood, people had learned 3 truths about the ranch. I sleep with the deed under my pillow, not really. Cows have better manners than some HOA presidents, and you do not block my driveway. It began on a sun-scorched Thursday morning. I was doing a perimeter check, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, when I hit the long gravel approach and nearly choked on my sip. There, planted directly across my gate, gleaming in the sun like a traffic cone-shaped middle finger, was Karen's Lambo. Sideways across the drive. Engine off. Door open. Karen perched on the hood like a queen on a throne, clipboard balanced on one knee. "You're obstructing access," she announced as I rolled to a stop. "This is community property. You can't come and go as you please." I blinked. "Karen, that's my driveway." She pointed at the car like it was evidence. "We voted to restrict heavy vehicular traffic. This will teach you a lesson about community standards." I sighed and set my coffee down. "All right, move it." She smiled. "I will not. You'll have to go around." Go around? My around was 6 miles of mud and barbed wire and a creek. Also, the feed truck was due in an hour. So I did what any rancher with patience, principle, and an eye for theater would do. I called a friend with a weird hobby. "You need to understand. I keep odd things on the property for farm work and parades." A decommissioned armored personnel carrier had been sitting behind the barn since the county fair, an old project the kids and I had been restoring for display. It's mostly ceremonial. Heavy plating, rubber treads, the kind of thing that turns heads and redefines driveway clearance. By noon, the story had spread down the road, Hales bringing out the big toys. Folks gathered at a safe distance. Neighbors, a couple of deputies, because of course they showed up, and a gaggle of teenagers who'd heard "tank" and left their chores behind. I climbed into the driver's seat. No, not to menace anyone, just to make a point. The old vehicle roared, not because it needed to be menacing, but because that old diesel didn't whisper. I rolled forward, slow and steady. Not reckless, not dangerous, just resolute. Karen's smirk began to wobble when the treads crunched over the gravel. She stood on the hood like a reality show host, clipboard flapping, eyes wide. Someone near her shouted, "What are you doing?" And she shot back, "I'm preventing trespassers." The cattle looked on, unimpressed. I stopped at a respectful distance. The armored hull hunched like a sleeping beast. I opened the hatch and called up, "Karen, move your car, and no one gets hurt." She laughed once, high and brittle. You can't just run over my Lamborghini." I shook my head. "I'm not running it over. I'm demonstrating the consequence of obstructing private property. Move it and I'll hand you a written notice, a cup of coffee, and the satisfaction of not being flattened by the world's slowest bulldozer." She stomped off the hood then, approaching with all the fury she could muster. "You'll pay for that," she shrieked. "I'll have this towed and you'll be cited for intimidation." A deputy who'd been watching stepped forward politely. "Ma'am, you're blocking private access. Your vehicle is on private property. You need to move it or we'll handle it. Also, unblocking the driveway is a lot cheaper than litigating." He winked at me, calm as a man who's seen stranger things. But Karen wasn't done. She got into the Lambo, slammed the engine, and tried to boot it forward like a stubborn pony. The engine revved. The treads rumbled. Nothing happened. The Lamborghini, beautiful and delicate, sputtered. Its low clearance no match for the uneven gravel in front of the armored carrier. The tow crew arrived, but the Lambo wouldn't budge without a winch, and the owner, Karen, refused politely to accept reality. So I did the neighborly thing. I offered to help. I radioed my foreman to bring the winch and a flatbed. While we waited, the crowd ate it up. Phones out, laughter bubbling like creek water. Someone started a chant, "Move the Lambo! Move the Lambo!" When the flatbed arrived, the tow operator inspected and glanced at Karen. "Ma'am, you parked it like it was a cobblestone sculpture. We can get it, but we're going to have to lift it." He smiled sadly. "That'll be a fee." Karen's face went through a range of expressions I'd seen before in disasters, but she refused to give the crowd the satisfaction of immediate surrender. She scowled, signed a waiver, and stepped away as the crew hooked straps under the Lambo's chassis. I climbed down from the carrier and walked up to the hood, extending a hand. "We good?" Karen glared like a cat that's been splashed. Slowly, she nodded. The tow crew winched the Lamborghini up onto the flatbed and drove it away, careful, respectful. As they pulled away, Karen shouted back a promise about small claims court and reparations and community standards. I shook my head and picked up my coffee. The deputies walked over and asked if I wanted to file anything. "Nope," I said. "Let them learn some basic parking etiquette." That evening, word of mouth did what the HOA couldn't. It updated everyone on the sanctity of private property and the price of staging passive-aggressive blockades. Karen's stunt became the subject of barstool jokes and a cautionary tale for anyone who thought theatrical parking was a victory. A week later, the HOA received a bill from the tow company for illegal impoundment on private property and another from the county for wasting emergency services resources. Karen got 2 letters, one from the sheriff reminding her of trespass laws, and another from the county clerk noting that obstruction of a private driveway is considered a civil violation. The armored carrier sat back by the barn, quiet as the sunset. I polished its plating, thinking about boundaries, pride, and the absurdity of letting a sports car stand between you and common sense. Karen sold the Lamborghini not long after. She claimed financial reconsiderations. People said she moved her parking war to a more digital battlefield. Angry emails and ill-conceived petitions. But she never again blocked my driveway. And sometimes, when the sky's clear and the gravel crunches underfoot, you can still hear the faint echo of that diesel growl. It's a little reminder that out here, property lines aren't opinion, they're a fact. And the best lessons? They're sometimes taught in slow, heavy treads and a cup of coffee.